quite much interesting. Now that you've talked about challenges, you've talked about in the years to come, actually, we'll be experiencing 70% of the population of the world maybe living in the urban area, and of course maybe 30 living the rural. And so it means that the UN Habitat is also doing something to create a more sustainable environment. But of course, as you mentioned earlier, we understand that this implementation of these SDGs actually has had some recent global disruptions. So if you could maybe share some successful work maybe that has been done by the UN Habitat in promoting the SDGs, but of course you can also mention some of the challenges actually that you guys have been facing.
Indeed, absolutely. As we know, the 2030 Agenda and the 17 SDGs have been a global blueprint for advancing the socio-economic development on the global scale, but also bringing it down to the regional, the national, and more and more importantly also the local level. And this is the issues that we have been focusing on a lot. Of course, we all know that we are lagging behind, that the progress of implementation of the 2030 Agenda is not what we need. One obvious reason is the pandemic that really held us back, and we have seen even regressions in some important areas, including health, education, and eradication of poverty, unfortunately. And of course, all the SDGs are very much interrelated. At UN Habitat, we are the custodians, so to say, of SDG 11 on sustainable cities and communities. And last year, we actually published even such a small booklet, pocket progress report on the implementation of SDG 11, which contains some of the main wake-up calls, I would call it, some of the important data and information that shows us how much progress we have made and where exactly we are lagging behind. And of course, we know that it's not easy to accelerate on so many different fronts. Indeed, as I said, starting from health, education, poverty eradication, and then moving down, of course, towards climate action and also sustainable cities and communities. But it's important to have credible data and to really have a good basis for the action that we are designing. Because designing action without appropriate data, information, and knowledge would not be responsible, to say the least. So, from this important data, I would highlight in particular the housing piece. And of course, I know that our viewers also here in Kenya are very much concerned about the housing situation, and we know that we have a challenge of informal settlements, of slums, but also a huge gap in terms of affordable and adequate housing. And we can come back to Kenya if you agree a bit later. But on the global scale, the housing crisis, and we really call it a housing crisis, is such that if we wanted to address it fully, we would need to build 96,000 new housing units a day. To be able to close the gap, which of course we know it's hardly realistic unless some miracles occurred. But it's important for us to understand and to grasp the size of the issue, the magnitude of the problem, and try to adjust our policies and our action accordingly. Or maybe I can just briefly add that we